The billowing black beast that terrorized the people of the Gulf Coast for nearly 4 months is dead tonight. Killed with a precision shot of thick, heavy mud. Engineers say no oil is leaking from the well and none ever will again. But if all is calm beneath the surface of the Gulf, on shore, some people remain worried. What's happened to all that oil? Jeffrey Kaufman reports from the Gulf.
Talk about a quick recovery. Many of the Gulf fisheries have been reopened for just a few days, and already the crab nets are full. You're happy?
Yeah.
Any sign of oil in these?
Nope.
None.
You can taste them.
You can taste them.
Yeah.
You lick them. Is that what you do? I can smell them. No oil, right? These images where it all began seem so long ago. It has been more than 3 months since the explosion and sinking of the deep-sea drill rig Deepwater Horizon. That was late April. What began as an industrial accident morphed into an environmental catastrophe as it became clear that millions of gallons of oil were spewing into the Gulf of Mexico. I first reported on oil coming ashore on May 18th. At the time, it really did seem like the leading edge of an oil apocalypse. Yet when we revisited those same marshes a few days ago, we were astonished to see that in 2 months, the oil had progressed no further. There was some dead marsh grass, some of it coming back to life, and there was a little oil. But the birds, those spectacular birds, were oblivious. The worst environmental disaster in modern American history seems to have simply disappeared. So here are a few key questions about how we got here and what's ahead. Question 1. Where is the oil? It began to disappear as soon as the well was capped on July 15th. When I flew to the rig site on Sunday with Coast Guard oil spotters, we didn't see a single patch of the caramel-colored oil that has become the defining color of this spill.
The good news is that the vast majority of the oil appears to be gone. That's what the initial assessment of our scientist is telling us. The containment, the burning, the skimming, it worked.
But what she failed to acknowledge were the huge amounts of dispersants sprayed on the spill at sea. And the biggest contributor of all, Mother Nature. The churning waves of the Gulf, the steamy 88-degree water, the searing 100-degree sun. And who knew that there was a little microbe deep in the Gulf that actually eats oil? They're called psychrophiles, perhaps the only organisms on Earth happy to see the well spewing. Question 2. Are the fish safe? We first met Cindy and Henry Hutto in June when they were delivering one of their last shrimp catches to the processor. Most of the fisheries closed because of the spill have now reopened. Shrimp season, which usually begins in late August, could open for a special season as early as this week. Today, the Huttos told us they are ready, but they are worried. Do you think you're going to get your life back now and get back on track?
If the perception of the shrimp being tainted doesn't change, I don't know. Because our problem now, I believe, is going to be the public and what they've been told and what the media portrays as tainted shrimp and the dispersants and all. The word is out that the factories don't own our shrimp.
The fishermen may have to win over public opinion, but they already have science on their side. The federal government and states are using public and private labs to test thousands of samples of Gulf seafood before any fisheries are reopened. This lab has done more than 500 tests. What are you finding?
We're finding very, very low levels of hydrocarbons. The levels that we're finding are well below the FDA guidelines for hydrocarbon contamination in seafood. And we believe there's really no significant difference between what we're finding now and what was found, what would have been found last year.
Question 3. Is there unseen damage? Here's where it gets tricky. We went to this marine ecology lab at Tulane University in New Orleans, where researcher Dr. Aaron Gray has been studying the larvae of blue crabs. And what am I looking for in here? Those larvae are 1 millimeter across. These orange drops, this is worrisome.
It's different. Yeah, it's worrisome. We're trying to figure out what they are.
Those orange specks measure about 1 micron. That's 1/1000th of a millimeter. They believe they are microscopic specks of dispersed oil.
It will take us a few weeks to identify the compound in the crab larvae, but really estimating the effects will probably take years.
Question 4. Can tourism recover? 250,000 people work in tourism in this region. Normally, this is peak season on Dauphin Island in Alabama. but wary tourists are staying away.
We really want to thank you for coming in. Glad you came in to see us.
That has meant catastrophe for the owner of Flamingo Faye's restaurant.
In the beginning of this, we were all still very hopeful. We were terrified of what had happened, but we were hopeful, and then as the days drug on, we felt like we named it the Gloom and Doom Island or the Dead Sea. Everyone began to lose hope.
Faye says she has lost her peak earning months. She is closing for good. Josh Schmidt is not as pessimistic. He runs a sport fishing lodge called Sawgrass Outdoors north of Venice, Louisiana. Are the sport fishermen going to come back?
Yeah.
Schmidt says he and other lodge owners just have to get their message out.
Hey, we're open for business and we're clean and there is no dangers here.
With the well capped and the oil mostly gone or cleaned up, the biggest challenge for Gulf recovery may be cleaning up a tarnished image. I'm Jeffrey Kaufman for Nightline in Buras, Louisiana.